President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday launches another tirade against leaders of the Catholic Church in the country, saying they don't help address the spread of drugs. Duterte says church leaders can help by preaching to addicts and pushers to abandon illegal drugs instead of waiting for people to die from extrajudicial killings.
Ngayon, gusto ninyo matapos ang patayan, all you have to do is to preach. Kasi karamahan dito Katoliko. Kung mahusay ka na pare, ipaintindi mo, mamamatay ka, umalis ka sa droga. Pwede nakakatulong pa kayo.
Duterte accuses church leaders of just waiting for someone to die in the drug war, only to criticize government afterwards.
Criticize the police, you criticize me. For what? Kayo yung may mga pera. Siraulo pa lang eh.
He also accuses the church of not doing enough for drug addicts despite its wealth.
Anong ginawa ng simbahan? Kayong simbahan ng Katoliko, milyon ang kita ninyo linggo-linggo all throughout the Philippines, karaming simbahan. Saan ang pera ng tao? Kayong mga pare, mga obispo, magaganda ng suot ninyo. Meron ba kayong isang bahay lang paski 5 kwarto para rehab?
Solicitor General Jose Calida agrees with President Rodrigo Duterte that the provisions in the 1987 Constitution meant to safeguard against abuse of martial law must be modified. Calida says the provisions limiting the powers of the president in declaring martial law don't fully appreciate future emergency situations that require quick decision-making.
Because it is an emergency situation, there should be haste. In other words, we do not have the luxury of time for 60 days to validate whether or not there is really an emergency.
So what should be
Somebody has to act fast on it.
Calida says the 1987 Constitution was a reflex action against the Marcos regime, adding there could be provisions that may no longer be needed. But Calida says he still wants safeguards in the amended Constitution.
Yes, safeguards to everybody. No? In other words, the medicine must be sufficient to cure the disease.
Romulo Macalintal, Vice President Leni Robredo's election lawyer, dares former Senator Bongbong Marcos to drop his election protests against Robredo if it is not proven that the SD cards were used to commit poll fraud in 2016. Macalintal adds Marcos's lawyer Vic Rodriguez should quit law if the allegation is disproved. He says he will quit the legal profession if the allegation is proven true. The Marcos camp earlier claimed data found in some SD cards retrieved from supposedly unused vote counting machines would prove there was massive fraud in the 2016 elections. Marcos filed an election protest against Robredo for supposedly cheating in the last elections. Senator Francis Pangilinan wants a Senate probe into the proliferation of fake news on social media and seeks to penalize Facebook for its supposed inaction. Pangilinan says Facebook is, quote, a de facto media company and must be held accountable for the content it allows to be distributed. He says the issue has become a global phenomenon, citing the aftermath of the 2016 Philippine and United States presidential polls. Pangilinan is the acting president of the Liberal Party, the subject of online attacks by mostly pro-administration groups and accounts. Pangilinan's resolution was prompted by an earlier move in Germany, where the country's ruling party said it will pass a law penalizing Facebook for fake and wrong posts that aren't removed within 24 hours. Justice Department recommends the filing of kidnapping for ransom with homicide charges against 2 police officers and several others in connection with the abduction and death of Korean business executive Ji Ik-ju. The DOJ says senior police officers Ricky Santa Isabel, Roy Villegas, Ramon Yalong, and several John Does failed to provide evidence denying their participation in the crime. It also concludes that G was strangled to death while inside the Philippine National Police headquarters in Camp Crame. According to the DOJ's preliminary investigation, 2 unidentified men took G and house helper Marisa Morquicho from the Korean businessman's house in Pampanga on October 18, 2016. Morquicho said in her affidavit that the men introduced themselves as police officers and told her G was involved in illegal drug activities. They were then taken to Camp Crame, where Morquicho was eventually released. In his affidavit, Villegas said Santa Isabel strangled and killed G. G's remains were reportedly burned to ashes in a crematorium owned by a former police officer. The DOJ says Villegas thought the police operations he participated in were legitimate, but when he realized they weren't, he obeyed the instruction of Santa Isabel for fear of his life and that of his family. Santa Isabel earlier surrendered to the National Bureau of Investigation despite having no warrants against him. G's family reportedly paid a 5 million peso ransom for his release 2 weeks after his abduction, but he was killed on the same day he was snatched from his home.